You don't need a Porsche Cayenne Coupe, but we're guessing you'd really like one. As the name suggests, this is a sportier-looking version of the standard Cayenne large SUV, and it's been engineered with all the same Porsche thoroughness, which means that it's the very first large SUV coupe model the market's been offered, with handling that can really match the arresting looks that tend to be common in this segment. Is this Porsche Cayenne Coupe really the answer to a question no one was asking? That's what the car magazines say, but as so often, they're wrong. Actually, quite a considerable number of well-heeled folk have been asking for a large luxury SUV with a sporting coupe-style look. That's why BMW's X6, the car that started this trend, is now in its third generation, and Mercedes has introduced the second generation version of that car's closest rival, the GLE Coupe. Porsche wants a slice of that action too, hence the need for this Cayenne Coupe. You actually wonder why the brand didn't do this before. Its conventional Cayenne SUV has always been the most sporting model in its segment. If its sharp handling prowess could be transferred into a sector rather in need of sharp handling prowess, you'd think fireworks could be in prospect. You might not be surprised to hear that a Porsche Cayenne Coupe drives almost exactly the same as an ordinary Cayenne. Of course, the standard Cayenne isn't exactly ordinary in the way that it hurls nearly 2.3 tons of Zuffenhausen real estate up the road. Porsche reckons this variant is even better because of its fractionally lower centre of gravity, though any difference, if there is any, is virtually impossible to detect, on the public road anyway. Now, as with the conventional car, the steering is on another level to what you get from other large SUVs from most other brands, being meaty and direct. And as on the conventional car, you get the option of PDCC Porsche Dynamic Chassis Control that features active anti-roll bars that aim to reduce body lean at speed through the corners. Through those bends, traction can be maximised if you paid for the PTV Plus Porsche Torque Vectoring Plus rear differential and the rear wheel steer axle. As in the straightforward Cayenne lineup, the engine range kicks off with a turbocharged 3-litre V6 petrol unit developing 330 PS. Next up is the Cayenne S, which gets a twin turbocharged 2.9-litre V6 good for 440 PS. At the top of the range is the Cayenne Turbo, which gets a 4-litre twin-turbo V8, putting out a potent 550 PS. There are also two plug-in variants, making up for the lack of a diesel. First, the 462 PS e-hybrid, and for really high rollers, a top Turbo S e-hybrid with 680 PS. That sloping roofline trims around 20mm from the height of a normal Cayenne, and to even things out, a few extra millimetres of length and width have been added here and there. The result, to most eyes, is a much more elegant thing than either a BMW X6 or a Mercedes GLE Coupe. But then those cars are supposed to have an in-your-face demeanour. In a way, that's the point of them. A Cayenne Coupe doesn't bother with pavement theatrics of that kind, though it's equally style-conscious in its own rather more mature way. Take, for example, the two available roof options, a full-length panoramic glass affair or a carbon fibre panel with a double bubble finish, similar to that of a Porsche 911 GT3 RS. Up front, it's basically the same as a normal Cayenne, but various lightweight packages can be specified, each offering various carbon fibre interior and exterior trim elements, and seats with a combination of Alcantara and checked cloth upholstery. In the rear, the normal bench makes way for a couple of individual seats, separated by a storage tray, and a couple of cup holders live in this fold-down armrest. If you need to take 3 people occasionally, a 2+1 layout can be specified at extra cost, giving you a tiny seat in the middle here. Out back, as you might expect, the boot has shrunk in size from 745 to 625 litres, though folding the rear chairs liberates 1,540 litres, only 138 litres down on the standard car. Prices open at around £62,000 for the standard 3-litre V6 340 PS petrol Cayenne Coupe. Everything in the range is petrol powered. That fee representing a premium of around £5,000 over the equivalent version of the standard Cayenne model. Next up is the e-hybrid plug-in version at around £71,500, followed by the Cayenne Coupe, which uses a 440 PS version of a 2.9-litre V6. There's then a big price jump to the Cayenne Turbo Coupe we're trying here, which uses a 550 PS V8 and costs around £105,000. The top Cayenne Turbo S e-hybrid coupe weds that V8 with plug-in technology, puts out 680 PS and costs a cool £126,000. At least it's hard to argue with the amount of kit that all versions of this car get as standard. There's a full leather interior, Porsche Active Suspension Management, that's PASM. You get bi-xenon headlights, front and rear park assist, tyre pressure monitoring, automatic dimming rear view mirrors, the Porsche Communication Management centre dash touchscreen with satellite navigation and a full house audio system. There's cruise control, of course, and you get the normal 3-year warranty. That's on top of a Porsche Vehicle Tracking System, PTVS. There's also a clever cruise control setup that takes into account speed limits, bends and inclines. The big ticket item on any Cayenne has long been depreciation, but then that's not an issue exclusive to Porsche. Show us one large SUV that retains its value well. The pace of change has been dizzying in this sector, and older SUVs date rapidly due to advances in engine efficiency. Look at the prices of early petrol engine Cayennes for evidence of that. Porsche has made big strides in improving fuel economy and driving down emissions with this model, principally with its plug-in hybrid technology. Expect a CO2 figure from the e-hybrid variant of up to 72 grams per kilometre, that's on the NEDC cycle. When connected to a rapid charging outlet, the batteries can be replenished within around 2.5 hours via the integrated onboard charger and the standard Porsche universal charger. And if you connect into your garage wall box, you're looking at a charging time of around 4 hours. Fuel consumption for this variant is WLTP rated at up to 70.6 miles to the gallon. As for the mainstream versions, well, the base 3-litre V6 Cayenne Coupe manages between 22.2 and 23.9 miles to the gallon on the combined cycle and between 212 and 215 grams per kilometres of CO2. The variance depends on spec and different wheel sizes. For the twin-turbo 2.9-litre Cayenne S, the figures are between 21.9 and 23.7 miles to the gallon and between 212 and 216 grams per kilometre. As for the Cayenne Turbo, you're looking at between 20.2 and 20.8 miles to the gallon, with CO2 readings between 258 and 261 grams per kilometre. We would imagine real-world consumption on that top variant is likely to be a good deal scarier. Why is the motoring press so disparaging towards cars like this? Increasingly, people aspire to them just as much as to a Porsche 911 or a Ferrari 488. Ideally, of course, you'd have sports car and sports SUV. And if your oak-timbered garage was fortunate enough to accommodate both a Cayenne Coupe, preferably a turbo, and a 911, we reckon your motoring life would be pretty well covered. The technology on offer here is awesome. Rear-wheel steering, air suspension, anti-roll systems and so on. But even if you don't stretch to it, you'll still get a car that dynamically redefines what's possible in its segment, just as Porsches always have.